Chapter 1. The Shadow of the Past. Emily and Jake arrived in the mysterious town on a late autumn morning. They felt a slight shiver as they drove through the dense forests surrounding the gloomy town. The leaves on the trees were colored in bright shades of red and orange, creating an atmosphere of mystery and intrigue. The couple stopped in front of a small cafe to gather information about the abandoned circus. Inside, they met an old man with gray hair and deep wrinkles on his face. He looked as if he had lived here his whole life. "Welcome to our town," the old man greeted. "What brings you here?" "We heard about the legend of the abandoned circus," Emily replied, her voice trembling slightly. "We would like to learn more about this place." The old man frowned and shook his head. "The circus? It's a place best forgotten," he said in a low voice. "Something terrible happened there, and now its spirits wander its corridors." Emily and Jake exchanged glances, their curiosity only growing. "We want to investigate this legend," Jake said, his voice determined. "Can you help us?" The old man sighed and nodded. "All right, I will tell you what I know. But be careful, young ones. The circus is a place of evil, and it can consume you." Outside the cafe, a light rain began, adding even more gloom to the atmosphere. Emily and Jake watched the raindrops fall on the asphalt, as if foreshadowing something sinister. "Thank you for the warning," Emily said, her voice sounding slightly anxious. "We will be cautious." The old man smiled and stood up from the table. "Then follow me," he said, heading towards the exit. "I will show you the way to the abandoned circus." Emily and Jake exchanged excited and hesitant glances. They knew they were venturing into dangerous and unknown territory, but their curiosity and desire to uncover the mystery overcame their fear. They followed the old man, entering the dark forest where the tree shadows seemed threatening and ominous. The path to the abandoned circus was just beginning, and they were filled with determination to explore it, despite all the dangers that might await them ahead. Chapter 2. The Gates of Nightmare. Emily and Jake followed the old man through the dense forest, where tree branches intertwined, creating dark shadows on their path. The air was filled with the scent of damp earth, and the leaves beneath their feet crunched, as if whispering about the secrets hidden within this forest. "The circus is nearby," the old man said, his voice soft and mysterious. "It is hidden from the eyes of ordinary people, and only those who seek the truth can find it." Emily and Jake exchanged glances, their hearts beating faster with excitement. They were ready to confront the mysteries that this abandoned circus held. After some time, they reached a clearing where the forest dispersed, revealing the site of the abandoned circus. The building was covered in cobwebs and peeling paint, the windows were shattered, and the entrance gates looked abandoned and overgrown with grass. "Here we are," the old man said, his voice sounding solemn. "Enter, but be cautious." Emily and Jake exchanged one last look before they stepped inside the abandoned circus. Inside, a gloomy atmosphere prevailed, as if time had stopped at the moment of a bloody tragedy. Cobwebs covered the walls, and dust and dirt concealed traces of past grandeur. "This place breathes history," Emily whispered, her voice slightly trembling. "We must be careful and not awaken the sinister forces slumbering here." Jake nodded, his eyes filled with determination. "Let's begin the investigation," he said, his voice resolute. "We must find answers and uncover the secrets of this place." The couple began exploring the abandoned circus, cautiously making their way through its corridors and rooms. They discovered old posters, photographs, and records, indicating that the circus was a site of mystical rituals and sacrifices. Every step, every rustle sent shivers down their spines, as if they could feel the presence of the deceased performers' souls. "This place is filled with suffering and evil," Emily said, her voice sounding hollow. "We must find answers and free these souls." Jake nodded, his eyes filled with determination. "We will continue the investigation," he said, his voice firm. "We must uncover the truth and bring peace to these souls." Outside the circus, the sky grew dark, and the first raindrops began to fall. The wind whispered around the abandoned building, as if revealing its secrets and horrors. Emily and Jake continued their investigation, despite all the dangers that might await them ahead. They knew that only the truth could free this circus from its dark past. Chapter 3. Deadly Performance. Inside the abandoned circus, Emily and Jake continued their investigation, cautiously making their way through dark corridors and rooms. The sounds of creaking doors and rustling sent shivers down their spines, but they didn't give up. They were determined to uncover the secrets of this place, despite the dangers that might await them. As they explored, they discovered more and more artistic objects that seemed to come to life and be ready to take the stage. Mannequins in performer costumes seemed to come alive, their eyes filled with life and their poses full of grace and elegance. Emily and Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that their every move was being observed. "What is this place?" Emily whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "Why do all these performers seem so real?" Jake stopped and looked at her, his eyes filled with confusion. "I don't know," he admitted, "but something is off here. We need to be careful." They continued their exploration, but suddenly heard footsteps and strange sounds coming from deep within the circus. Emily and Jake exchanged glances, their hearts racing and fear gripping them with each passing second. "What is that?" Emily whispered, her voice trembling slightly. Jake nodded silently, and they moved towards the sounds. As they got closer, they saw the artistic objects start to move and come to life. Mannequins in performer costumes began to move smoothly, as if they were preparing for a performance. "This can't be real," Jake whispered, his voice filled with horror. "How is this possible?" Emily and Jake tried to escape the circus, but the exits disappeared. They found themselves trapped, where every step could be their last. The performers, whose souls were trapped in the circus, started to chase Emily and Jake, thirsting for revenge for their deaths. "Run!" Emily screamed, her voice filled with desperation. "We need to get out of here." They rushed through the corridors, trying to find a way out. The performers closed in on them, their eyes filled with rage and a thirst for vengeance. Suddenly, one of the performers, who had taken the form of a clown, attacked Jake, his sharp teeth gleaming in the darkness. "No!" Emily cried out, her voice filled with despair. She grabbed the nearest object in her hand, an old cane, and struck the attacking clown with force. The clown backed off, and Emily helped Jake to his feet. "Thank you," Jake mumbled, his voice slightly trembling. "We need to find a way out of here." They continued their escape, overcoming obstacles and fending off the pursuing performers. Suddenly, they emerged into a huge arena where the central ring was located. All the performers gathered around it, ready to present their deadly show. "This is the end," Emily muttered, her voice filled with despair. But then, a sudden downpour began, and the rain washed away the dust and dirt from the arena. The water magically revived the performers, turning them into living beings. They ceased to be a threat and began to perform their acrobatic tricks, as if they were putting on their final show. "They want to show us their art," Emily whispered, her voice filled with astonishment. Jake nodded, his eyes filled with admiration. "We just need to watch," he said. "This is their final performance." They stopped and watched the performers, who executed their tricks with incredible strength and grace. The water, washing away the dirt and dust, gave them new life. Emily and Jake realized that these performers were trapped in this circus, and their souls couldn't leave until they had performed their final show. As the performance came to an end, the performers slowly disappeared, as if dissolving into the air. The water stopped reviving them, and they became motionless mannequins again. The circus once again fell into darkness and silence. Emily and Jake were left alone in the arena, feeling a mix of emotions: fear, astonishment, and sadness. They understood that they had witnessed something amazing and yet heartbreaking. But they knew they had to continue their investigation to uncover all the secrets of this place and free the souls of the performers. With this determined intention, they left the arena and continued their journey through the abandoned circus, ready to face any dangers to find the truth. Chapter 4: Captives. After the amazing spectacle at the arena, Emily and Jake continued their investigation in the abandoned circus. They cautiously made their way through dark corridors and rooms, feeling the weight of the gloomy atmosphere of this place. The air was filled with the smell of dust and old costumes, and the walls were covered with cracks and stains from time. "This place is filled with sadness," Emily said, her voice full of sorrow. "We have to find a way to free these performers." Jake nodded, his eyes filled with determination. We can't leave them here. But be careful, Emily. Danger could be waiting for us at every step. They continued their exploration, venturing deeper into the circus. Suddenly, they heard a faint whisper coming from afar. They exchanged glances and moved towards the sound. As they got closer, the whisper grew louder, and they could make out the words. Help. Free us. Emily and Jake discovered a room where the performers were held captive in this circus. They were weak and exhausted, their faces expressing suffering and despair. Emily and Jake approached them, feeling the pain and sadness they were experiencing. We've come to help you, Emily said, her voice full of compassion. We will find a way to free you. The performers weakly smiled, their eyes filled with gratitude. Please, save us, they whispered. Emily and Jake began searching for a way to free the performers. They found an old ammunition box that was locked. Jake managed to pick the lock, and they opened the box. Inside, they found old props and costumes that the performers used in their acts. Perhaps these items hold the key to their liberation, Jake said, his voice filled with hope. They started examining each item, and suddenly they discovered an old book with mysterious symbols on the cover. The book was covered in dust and looked very old. Emily and Jake opened the book and began studying its contents. This is a spellbook, Emily whispered, her voice full of astonishment. Maybe it contains a way to free the performers. They started reciting spells from the book, hoping it would help free the captive performers. Suddenly, the room filled with a dark light, and the performers began slowly disappearing, as if their souls were being consumed by the circus's darkness. What's happening? Emily screamed, her voice full of horror. Jake tried to stop the process, but it was too late. They both found themselves inside the book, prisoners of this cursed place. Their cries for help faded into the depths of the pages, and they realized they were forever trapped in this circus, devoid of hope for rescue. Now they had to spend the rest of their days in this world, suffering and vanishing along with the performers they had tried to save. Their investigation had become their own downfall, and they realized they would never be able to uncover the secrets of this place and prevent an even greater tragedy. Thus their story came to an end, and their names became nothing more than a sad legend, told about those who fell into the trap of this cursed circus. No one knew what had happened to them, and their fate remained a mystery, buried along with this abandoned place.